Hi, welcome again to another computer tutorial, and now we are going to talk about subnetting Class B address. Now, as you can see on the screen, we actually have a given problem, and what's given is an IP address of 172.16.0.0 with a /16, and from the /16, that actually means that we have the first 16 bits of the subnet mask as 1, which is 255.255. Okay, let me just type it here. This /16, as discussed on the previous video, the /16, we just type it here, /16 is actually equals to 255.255.0.0, right? Okay, because the 255 represents 8 bits, 8 ones, and another 8 1, that gives us 16 bits, or 16. That's why we have the /16. Okay, so if you haven't fully understood why it's /16, please go back to the other video. I will be indicating on the description the link to the explanation on what we call as the / notation for the subnet mask. Okay, so let's go back to the main topic, which is subnetting Class B address. So we have a Class B address, the 172.16.0.0. Okay, and what is asked is we are supposed to divide the network into 4 subnets, or 4 subnetworks, and following to that is we have to give the details about what will be the network ID of each of the subnets, the subnet mask, the host IP range, the usable hosts, and broadcast ID. Okay, let me just complete this. Usable broadcast ID, or broadcast ID address. There, it's not complete. And as you can see, I have already supplied the table that would so that it's easier for us to fill that up. Okay, so as what we had on subnetting Class C, we follow the same procedure, which is we make the Sunny table. Okay, but for the Sunny table for Class B, it's going to be a little bit longer because we're covering 4 octets. 2 groups of 8 octets. Okay, because of it's a Class B. Okay, so let me start by doing that. So I will write here what we labeled was, first is how many subnets, and then next is number of hosts. The next is the subnet mask. Okay, so let's make that a little thicker. So we start with the 1, and then 2, and then 4. If you still remember, we multiply it by 2. Okay, so for me to have it easier and faster, I'll just put since I'm using Microsoft Excel, let me just do the magic with using formula. Okay, so equals this, multiply, which is asterisk, by 2, and then enter. So it's 2. I already have a formula, as you can see here on the name box, and all I have to do is just pull it over, pull it to the right, there, and I think it's about here. Okay, so last time for the Class C, okay, for the Class C we had it up to this part only, 256. But for the Class B, we have it up to 65,536. Okay, So next step is, since this is a shortcut, I won't be explaining everything anymore, okay? Because it's not gonna be a shortcut anymore. The purpose of this kind of tutorial is to have it simpler and shorter. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing from right to the left. So 1, and then what's next? 2. So I'm gonna do the same thing as what I've done on the top. So equal sign, and then I click on this. Sorry, got that wrong. Equal sign, click on this, times 2, and enter. So I already have a formula for this. What I'm going to do is just drag it to the left. If you can still remember your Excel skills, okay, for using the formula, so that's how easy it could be. So with class C, if you can still remember, we started with /24, right? We started with /24. Now with class B, we start with /16 because we're now dealing with what? With class B. So /16. And then next is 17. We'll just rename this, and then I'm gonna pull it to the right using autofill. So you could still use your Excel skills. It would really come in handy and would prove to be easier. So there you go. We have now /16 to /32. Okay, so I'm done with the first step, which is creating the Sunny table. This is our Sunny table. Thanks a lot. Credits to Mr. Sunny for introducing us to this kind of solving the subnet. Okay, so again, so we're done with the table. Now we are to determine what are we asked for. So we are asked for 4 subnets. So where does it fall? Here it is. I'm just gonna highlight it so we won't forget. So I'm gonna highlight it with green. Okay, so we have the 4. Okay, now we are going to now compute for the network ID, and of course we always start with the original one that was given to us, which is 172.16.0.0. Okay, that is the first network ID. Let me just highlight all of this so that we won't get the blue color of the font. Normal font and not bold. Okay, and let's have it centered. So there, 172.16. Now what subnet mask do we have? It's a /18. So we input here /18. That is our new subnet mask. Okay, because it fell under this column. Next is broadcast ID. So as we had it in the class C. For us to get the broadcast ID, we just deduct it from the next network ID by 1. Okay, but for this, okay, since this is class B, it's not actually, you don't actually add the 16,384. We do not put here 172.16. Since we're in class B, we do it with the third octet. We don't put the 16,384.0. No, because as if you can still remember the maximum number, if we put all the octets into 1, 8 ones, the maximum number we can have is only 255, right? So it's not 16,384. So for us to not be confused about it and to have it easier. Okay, the secret here is that if anything that is, I'm gonna set a border here first. Okay, so up to 512. Okay, up to 512. This one here, hosts or 128 subnets. This is the part where I'm gonna color it with red. Okay, it's too red. Let's make it lighter color there. Okay. Any host we have, we divide it with, okay, any host, sorry, any host will be divided with 256. It's like the 256 is a constant for this. Okay, I'm not gonna also explain everything because it's not gonna be a shortcut method anymore, because primarily this is a shortcut. Okay, so that's my excuse. I'm not gonna explain everything why it's 256. I'm just telling you guys that for this up to the 128 subnet, if we're solving the class B, we are supposed to divide the number of hosts in by 256. Okay, let me just put a merge. So let me get a color for that. The same color. Okay. So anything within this range up to the 128 subnet, we divide the host with 256. That means for this particular case we have, which is /18, and the host is 16,384, we divide the 16,384 with 256, and that is what we come up with our next network ID. Okay, so next, so that means if we type it here, so equals to this one, okay, this which is the number of hosts where we are pertaining to, divided by /256. Okay, press enter. That means our interval per network ID is going to be 64. Okay, so which means this is not 16,384, but it's actually 64. There, 64. Okay, so 64, another 64 is going to be what? So 64, we'll have another 64, is going to be 72.16, that's 64. Oh, 64 that 120 plus 64 is 128. That 0. By the way, sir, you'd be asking why not on the last octet? We do it with the third octet because we are now dealing with the class B address. In class B address, we borrow it. The next borrowed bit is with the third octet, not the fourth or the last octet. Not like what we did with class C, so we borrow it to the last octet, okay, or the fourth octet. Okay, so now we have the 64 and then 128. How many do we have? We were asked to produce 4 subnets. So what's the next? 128, and then next is 172.16. Sorry, 16.128. I'm sorry, 128 plus 64 is 192. dot 0. Right? So we just copy the subnet mask here because we have the same subnet mask and the usable host. How many usable hosts we have? So we're gonna use the original usable host. We don't use the 64. So this one, as a rule again, usable host will be this number of hosts minus 2 because broadcast ID and the network ID is subtracted from the usable host because the usable hosts are the ones that we assign to those computers within the network. Okay, so that's going to be 16,382. 16,382. 16,382, and then we just copy it. Oops, I'm sorry. For that, paste. Then the broadcast ID again is going to be -1 from the next network ID, which means this is going to be 172.16.64. Okay, is it going to be 64? No, it's going to be 63. What will this be? What do you think? It's going to be 255. 255. Okay, because after the 255 it's going to be reset going back to 1 or +1 to the next octet or to the higher octet. That's why from that 63.255 +1 it's going to be 64 now to the next network ID, which is this 64.0. Okay, it goes back to 0. Okay, so for this one, next, what do you think will this be? This is going to be 172.16. What will this be? 127, because we have the 128 here, and then this is going to be 255. Okay, are we correct? Yes, we are correct. 172.16, 127, 255. What's gonna be the next? 172.16.191.255. Then 172.16. What's this gonna be? Because the next one is 256. So 255.255 now. Okay, so let me just check here. 192 plus okay. Okay, so we're on the right track. 255. So next is the host IP range. Again, it's +1 from the network ID, -1 from the broadcast ID, which gives us 172.16.0.1. Okay, this is the host, remember, and then 172.16.63. What's this gonna be? 254. Remember, we're talking about the host. Okay, we're not. It's not the broadcast or the network ID. Okay, talking about the host. That's why we have it here. So 172.16.01, 172.16.63, 254. Okay, so let's complete this. Next is 172.16.64.1 to, what do you think? 172.16.127.254. Okay, so 64 with that 1, 127.254. let's move this. So duplicate, mirror. Okay. Next is again 172. Sorry. Dot 16. Dot 128 now. 128.1 to 172.16.191 because the next one is 191.254 because it's minus 1. Next is 192.192.192.1 till 172 dot dot 16 sorry dot 255 dot 254. Okay, so let's double check. 163.54, yes, 64.1, and then 16, 127.254, correct. So 172, 16, 128, 1, 172, 16, 191, the 254, 172, 16, 192, that 1 till 172, 16, 255, that 254. So this is our final answer, and this is the correct answer. Okay, so remember always, if it's within this range, you divide the number of hosts by 256. But if it is already in this range, which we will have another example for, so let's say for example we have the same given, which is this, and then we are to provide, let me just copy this, we're going to provide 1000 or 1000, let's have it 1024, sorry for that, here. Okay, so 1024 subnets, okay, which is still inside our table. Okay, this is 124 subnets, right? So where will that be? Here, it's one. Let's highlight that. Okay, let's put a highlight so it's easy to find. Let's have it colored like blue there. So it's 1024 for subnets. Imagine 1024, that's really a lot. Okay, but for discussion's sake, and in case you have a situation like this in the future, you'll know. Okay, but all we have to do actually is just get the first sequence, because there's going to be a pattern for that. So we have 64 hosts and /6. Now we don't really need to divide it by 256 because this is now covered by the what? By the 4th octet already. Okay, it's like we're doing it in class C, but actually we're doing it in class B. It's just that we're trying to borrow bits, okay, from the class C octet already. I'm sorry, the 4th octet, okay, which is covered originally by a class C. Okay, so we don't anymore divide by 56, remember, okay, always. So let's have it. So I'm just gonna copy this and then paste it here. Okay, so of course we will always have the same first one, network ID, and then now we'll get the next. So as I've mentioned, we will now use the 64. Okay, remember 64 and slash, we'll put first the /26 in the usable hosts. So let's have it for maybe for 4 numbers. So /26 26 slash 26, and then let's copy that 1, 2, 3, and then usable host is going to be 64 minus 2. It's going to be 62, right? So then let's have this as centered, so it would look better there. So as mentioned, it's going to be 64 now. So but since we borrowed it in the last, so we don't do it here in the we don't start in the third octet but on the fourth octet. So it's going to be 172.16. That it's not, we don't put the 64 here, okay, because we borrowed it to the fourth octet. So it's going to be 0.64 now, okay, 0.64, and then next is going to be, again, plus 64 is going to be, let me just copy that and paste. 64 is going to be 128, right? 128. And then next is, what's it going to be? 192. 192, right? And then what's next? Let's have it. Let's add one more. Let's add two more. Let's start here. So 192 plus 64 is going to be, the answer 256. Okay, which is not also valid because why? Because if you do you have the 8 ones, the maximum number that you have is only 255, right? So it's 256 is more than the 255. That means you will actually carry it over to the next octet. So this means this actually is not 256, but this becomes 1, and this becomes 0. Okay, so be very careful with that. 256 is not present anymore. That means you carry it over to the next octet. So if you notice here, what's gonna happen? You just it's gonna be like a cycle. So 1, and then what's gonna be the next? 1.0, and of course this is going to be 1.64, and then next is, it's going to be 1.64, 128. Remember, we're going to we're actually computing for the 1024 subnets, okay, but we're not gonna do all of that now. I'm just gonna show you how it would look like in a it's like a pattern already. Okay, so 128, of course, at the 128 is now going to be 192. Okay, so 192. So let's just have it there. So that means the next is going to be, of course, 172.16. That, of course, is going to be now 2, because it's not going to be 1.256. It's going to be 2.0, and goes back to 64, 128, 192, and then 0 again. And then you add another to the octet. So let's just stop there. It's just to show you that there's a particular pattern for that. Okay, so since we got that all, what's important is we just get correctly the next network ID, and it's actually easy to compute for the broadcast and the host IP range. So what do you think is going to be the broadcast? Of course, -1, just -1. So 172 dot 16.0 dot 60. Of course, -1 from the dot 64 is going to be 63. Okay, and then again 172.0.127, and then 172.16.0.10. I'm sorry, let me type that again. 68.0.191. Okay, and then next one is now going to be, what will this be? This is now going to be 172.16. Sorry, this one's wrong. It's actually 16. 16.0.192. So 172.16. What will this be? 16.255. We still have 255, right? So 16.0. It's not yet 256. So that 255. Okay? Am I correct? Okay, 172.16.0.255. Okay, and then it goes on and on and on. So let's just copy this and then paste it here. And then we just put 1. So just put 1 here. 1. And then here, change it to 1. And then here, we change it again to 1. And then lastly, of course this is not the last, because imagine we're gonna do this for 1024 subnets, and you can figure out a way on making a formula for that for the rest of the IP. But at least this gives you the whole idea of how it would look like. So what's gonna be the answer for the host range? 172.16.0.1 till 172.16.0.62. Okay, next is 172.16. Just copy that. Sorry. What have I done? 16.065. This is 65 till 0126. 126. We're almost there. Okay, next is, let's just copy that. 0129 to 0190. 0129 to 0190. 0190. Okay, and then here, last from the first 4. So let's copy that again. So this is going to be 0193. 0193 till 0254. 254. Okay, so that's for the first. So what we do is we just copy it to next, because we have the same we have the pattern already. So all we have to do is just change the zeros into 1. 1. This one is 1. Then here, 1, 1. Then here, sorry, 1, and then 1. And lastly, we have here the 1, sorry, 1, and the last one. And that's it. Okay? So 254, 172, 16, 1, 1193, 1 to 254. If you just double check, 190. Okay, so and that's it, guys. Okay, so that's how easy you could actually solve your subnetting class B using this technique. Okay, and it's not gonna be a little bit. It will take away the confusion of trying to solve for the subnet in class B. Okay, so I hope, guys, that this would be of help. Okay, and this is how you solve the shortcut way subnetting class B address. Thank you so much for being patient and watching and listening to this tutorial. Hope you watch the other tutorials as well. Thank you so much and God bless. Goodbye.